There are 4 original Tusken Raider masks from the 1977 Star Wars. Each one slightly different, and one has been sitting in a truck driver's home for decades. Handed to him directly by George Lucas, who was throwing props and costumes from Star Wars into a dumpster. That's either one of the great origin stories in prop collecting history, or it's exactly the kind of story people make up when they're trying to sell you something. Today, Gus Lopez, one of the most respected Star Wars collectors alive, is bringing that mask in for a full investigation. Either this is the real thing, or someone has built the perfect trap. I remember when I was a kid, out of all the aliens, this one felt like it was an alien, but it's not an alien. It feels weird. Like, why does it have this weird head? And then ultimately you start thinking about, well, if it's just it's a protection from the elements and it's a kind of a tribal thing, well then they look very different on the inside. This is just the way they present themselves to everyone else.
I still feel like there should be aliens in there.
I bet there are aliens in there, but I don't think they look like,
Well, I mean,
they don't have metal as part of their body. And
in the Book of Boba, they're not, right? Or are they? Do we see them?
Honestly don't remember.
Yeah, they don't take off their masks.
They never take off their masks.
They never
in the
take
Book
them
of Boba?
off.
It's because they live on a desert planet that they have developed these breathing apparatus and
It's like Dune.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a still suit.
Well, one thing that's interesting is when they shot Star Wars in Tunisia, there are a lot of local things that they seem to have incorporated into the design of characters. So you see people wearing these robes that look like the Jedi or Obi-Wan Kenobi's robe. You see guys that have the wrap around the head that's the same color as this, and they'll wear a brown cloak that's the same color, and you know, did they base the Tuskens on the local guys? It just evokes the image of a Tusken when you see it out there. There are several Tuskens in the film. There's one played by Peter Diamond.
That's the guy that goes,
Yeah, that dude. Yeah, with the gaffy stick, and he hits Luke. But then you see 3 Tuskens drag Luke, go to ransack his land speeder. You also have a scene where 2 Tuskens are up on the ridge, have a rifle pointed down at the land speeder goes by. You have also the scenes they did in Death Valley on the Banthas, which has a couple Tuskens. But each mask is unique and different.
4 masks, each one slightly different. The question is whether this is one of those 4.
I get approached a lot of times with people that say they have original things from Star Wars, and I immediately look at it with skepticism for good reason, because most of the time
It's not true.
it's not true. And so I had a fellow who contacted me on an email address I don't use very often. So I was just happened to be going through old emails, and he had written me a year earlier. So this email sat in my inbox for a year saying, oh, I got a Tusken Raider mask from Star Wars, and I have Luke's belt from Star Wars. Jeez. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I haven't responded to this email. But I'm thinking it's probably he doesn't have it. So I wrote the guy. I said, well, I said, hey, I'm very interested to hear more. Can you send pictures and so on? I offered a very fair amount for it.
Let's just make a point here.
Yeah.
A lot of people would say that. I wouldn't believe him. I believe it coming from this guy. If he said he made a fair offer.
Fair is the big question. How many figures is fair?
It's actually a strategic thing, and I'll explain why.
Yeah, please.
I did a red eye Friday night after work, flew out overnight, and bringing like piles of cash with me to do this deal. And I'd given him a good offer. We agreed on the phone, and I felt like it was a very fair amount. And then he tells me as I was going to the house, you know what, strangest thing happened. An auction house that I had talked to a year ago just got back to me yesterday. And it turned out they totally lowballed him.
Oh, interesting.
Had I lowballed him, it might have gone a different direction.
And it was cash.
It was all cash, yeah. I mean, they know me now at the bank, so they've kind of gotten down to that routine of like, yep.
Here we go, Gus is buying something again.
And it looks weird, but this is what it's for. You know, it is what it is. I'm not buying cocaine with it.
People don't like to talk about it, but I think it's one of the more interesting parts is talking about the money. And you go to the auction websites and see how much stuff is sold for.
Yeah.
You kind of go, oh, all right, 3 million, 2 million. I mean, it's pretty insane.
No, those are the highest end.
Those are the high end stuff.
Yeah, the high end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, off the bat, I look at this and I'm sure it's 5 figures minimum.
Well,
to get
that's if it's
beautiful
real.
things like that. Yeah,
If it's real. If it's real.
Sand people, Tuskens, whatever you want to call them. The moment they smashed their way onto the screen in 1977, something clicked. Are they aliens? Are they monsters? Or are they something worse? George Lucas conjured them out of the desert, and the people who built these masks made them real. And if what Gus is telling us is true, well, one of them has been hiding in a house in a truck driver's back bedroom.
So he was a guy who worked in the industry, and he moved props and set dressing around between different storage locations and filming locations.
So he was a truck driver?
A truck driver, yeah. He had met Lucas, he knew Lucas, and this was like after the filming, and he was in the warehouse where they were storing all these things. And by the way, they ultimately threw away a lot of those things, and so it's probably a story for another day, but that's how like things like the Death Star were saved. And he asked George, can I have
So he was very specific, it was George.
Yes, he's very specific in his story that it was George. And he said, can I have one of the Tusken masks? And George grabs it and then gives him Luke's belt and say, here, take Luke's belt too, and gives him those two things. Yeah.
It feels odd that George Lucas, who has been a collector all his life, would give stuff away.
Well, maybe, but
I could see someone who worked for George, whose job was, or someone who worked for the studio to get rid of the storage.
yeah.
But George himself, I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it just feels
Sure.
very
I've never heard of
unlikely.
anything
I've
like
heard
that of George.
different
giving.
person, different story. When the Death Star turned up, the fellow who was working at the storage place, which was probably the same storage place this was at, said that the studio made the decision to just stop paying for storage and throw everything out. And George came by, pulled out 3PO and R2, and then said, throw everything else away. As far as I know, no one's ever interviewed George Lucas about what his point of view was on artifacts early on, but we do know they purged a ton of stuff from the first movie. They did.
I don't know if I feel like it's one of those fell off a truck stories.
I have other pieces that were given to people by George according to what they wrote down for me. So yeah, anyway.
But were they like truck drivers? So here's what we're meant to believe. The studio stopped paying for storage. George came by, pulled out R2 and 3PO, gave the Tusken mask and Luke's belt to a truck driver, and chucked everything else. What actually happened in that warehouse? Who took what, who gave what, and who just pocketed something on the way out? We'll never really know. But what doesn't end there is the object itself. Martin Meunier has handled materials from some of the most significant props ever put on camera. If this mask really did come out of that warehouse in 1977, it'll tell him.
Now, when I got it, the guy I bought it from, he had at the time he was living in Southern California, and told me that in the earthquake, one of the earthquakes, big earthquakes they had, they lost the original eye on the right side. So I had a right eye made, and if you look at it closely, you can see that the right eye is really shiny and newer looking than the other pieces that are more weathered.
Oh yeah, but right away, I mean, you can see this one is, super clean and sharp, no damage, nothing. So, I mean, look at it like this, right off the bat. To me, I would say like, wow, somebody did an incredibly good replica, like just a super detailed replica. And the only reason I would say this is because it feels like it's been transported at a time. It's like it's so perfect, it's so clean.
Right, yeah.
It's so magnificent. It's like everything is intact. The leather, there's no aging. The paint is still there from the staining on the leather.
And according to the story, it was through a earthquake which was violent enough to make one of the eyes come out.
What's really cool?
But yet you don't see.
I mean, it's absolutely. It feels like
damage.
It came out of the shop. And it's ready to go on set, and there it is.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's really interesting is that you can see the fiberglass shell underneath.
Here at Cinema Relics, we like to show you just about everything. But as we've established, fakes have become a real problem. So we're not going to show you the inside of the mask. You're just going to have to use your imagination.
The weird part about this, to be honest, is that
able
that
to
foam on the
see.
inside
Yeah.
is definitely not old.
Through this.
Why do you say that?
Well, because it would just be crumbling, completely crumbling.
Huh.
What
Yeah.
would be
I
the
have
foam?
I have foam.
You have
masks from
foam,
that era that are.
and you're sure they haven't been like fixed up?
Yeah.
But look how perfect the foam is.
I think it depends on how much UV light.
Yeah, but
it
it's been
gets.
on set. It's been out
Yeah.
on set.
Yeah.
And it just looks like the foam is like absolutely perfect. Well, I don't want to see it. I want to just smell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that burlap smells old. It does smell old. It smells like somebody's attic.
Yeah.
It looks like it was worn. See this foam,
Yeah.
foam padding right in the back
Yeah.
of the head?
Yeah.
See how it's worn?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting part of it. Feels like that's been worn.
There's some human hair in here.
Oh yeah, there is.
DNA test.
There you go.
Don't take it out.
Well, you can place it in a little envelope
Huh.
if you want.
Huh. Interesting.
It's a white hair.
Huh.
White.
Do you have an envelope or a Ziploc?
Is that Gus's hair?
Nobody's worn it, right?
I've not worn this.
Well, so nobody should have worn it since. So look, let's put this in a Ziploc
Yeah,
bag.
now that you've
Yeah.
taken it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're not gonna leave it in
You
there.
do a
It's gonna-
DNA
it's-
test
it's
on
gonna, It's gonna be lost. It's not. It's not.
You
part
guys are
of-
thorough, man.
It's not part of the problem.
We are thorough, but
Forensic.
you don't take it out.
You
I
don't
would
take it-
leave
yeah,
it in
probably-
there.
And it would've
Without
been-
him, like if it was
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
piece, you
You
could
would-
take
you would
it out.
ask, yeah,
I would.
yeah.
You'd ask,
Yeah.
right? So
It
in
is
the
o-
future, Martin.
It's okay for you to take out the hair.
All right,
but-
good.
but-
Retroactively. I still can't believe he did that.
Looking at this, I would not say it's 100%. It looks so perfect. It looks so clean. It looks so undamaged. I mean, it looks authentic. Like all the materials are right. It's beautifully made. If it screen matches, then yes. But otherwise, if I saw this, and I'd have my doubts. I would expect something much more damaged and older and loose, and the leather would have unglued, and the foam would have been all crumbling, and there would be a little bit of sand and damage, and the paint would have worn off on certain parts. This looks fresh, brand new. So somebody could make it that perfect. If you gave it to me and I had a little bit of time to do it, I would do it exactly this. It would look identical, 100%.
Martin's reed is complicated. The construction is right, the fiberglass, the leather, the burlap. And it all smells like the 70s, however you want to understand that. But this mask is in extraordinary condition. No crumbling foam, no cracked paint, no sand in the seams. For something that allegedly survived 2 deserts, a California earthquake, and a truck driver's back bedroom, Martin has his doubts, which means everything now comes down to Caleb.
So this is a promo still, which he has printed out there.
So these are stills of that match what Caleb is showing.
Well, it's obviously this one.
Yeah, the
Yep,
one on
you
the
got
right.
it. Yep, that's the
Can I see
one.
the close-up of it?
Yeah, this is, and these are actually 2 slightly different angled shots, so they're not exactly the same shot. And then these are the close-ups.
So the way that this crosses and the way that this comes over is pretty much matches. You can see the pieces of it, the
Yeah.
one that folds up here.
This
and-
is loose, yeah, so
Yeah.
this could be moved.
But it also, this flips up, this leather
Yeah.
flips up like it's,
Oh, yeah.
Also,
I didn't notice
and
that
this
before.
this
Yeah,
is
the flip
clearly
up.
the same nose.
and the one also that matches a lot is the curve above the second. That's this horn right here.
Okay.
That horn right there.
Yeah.
This.
Oh, that.
that-
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
that matches
Oh,
a lot.
yeah,
See
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
shadow
That's a
is
good
right
one.
there.
Yeah.
And the way this folds around the
Yeah,
mouth.
Does that fold the same way?
Yeah, in the mouthpiece.
This right here, this is identical.
You guys picked
Yeah.
up on all sorts of things I didn't even check before.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is a promo shoot. Does it match to the film?
With a rock-solid match to one of the 3 Tuskens in the promo photo, you would assume that Gus's mask is a match to the film. But a promo shot is not the film. The bar for Star Wars props is and should be insanely high. And if we're going to call this screen matched, we need to find it on the screen.
They each have a different gaffy stick, so presumably they held on to the same one throughout filming. If you can find the guy that has this one, that would probably be the right mask. This is a screen grab of when they're ransacking the land speeder. And this is the guy that has this gaffy stick. And
Which from the promo photos would have been the guy wearing this mask.
yes, I mean, it's far away, it's a wide shot, it's kind of hard to tell, but if you look at the way that things
Yeah.
drape, it looks like it's the same one.
I don't know if that's enough.
Assuming that you follow the choreography of this guy, it cuts away, but it seems like this is the guy that walks to the back and is then seen from the front. And
he's holding the gaffy stick.
yeah,
correct one.
Right, it is the same gaffy stick. And it's hard to tell because the back has kind of fallen apart.
Yeah. And the back is the part that's not really glued because it doesn't have like but
it has that feel. It has that gap, the big gap right here.
Yeah.
So it's close to that.
If this matches, then I think this is the same guy. This up here.
Yeah.
And this here and this. It is hard to tell, and I don't know if I'm just seeing what I want to see.
Yeah.
There's also this strip here, which is here.
Yes.
So if this is your guy, then I think this is too.
Caleb's logic tracks, but it's not a slam dunk. But what nobody expected is what came with the mask. So when you got this, there was a surprise with this piece, wasn't there?
There was. If you notice, like with the bandages, especially at the bottom, they're sort of all over. And I think they wrapped it around and it went underneath. But there was a glove that was tangled in there, a Tusken Raider glove that was tangled in with the mask. And it actually took some work to because it was all knotted up, but I pulled out the glove, and there was also a glove, Tusken Raider glove.
It's right there,
which I
isn't
brought. Yeah, it's right here. You notice it has the same. It tends to fall over, but on the stand, but it has the same kind of bandage patterns.
Right.
So it's also a costume
Bonus, right?
A bonus, yeah. So when I bought it, I had no idea there was a glove. In fact, I think I didn't even realize it till I got it home that there was a glove. Because it was inside it and it was all like tangled.
Is it screen? Can you screen match it?
Actually, I haven't screen matched it, and it seems like dumb that I haven't. But like, I don't know if we get a whole lot of close-up shots of the gloves of the Tuskens, to be honest.
A mask and a glove. Same seller, same story, same warehouse. Now it's time to hear what everybody thinks.
I do think that the story seems a little shady. I think he probably took it from the warehouse and made up a story about George giving it to him. Seems unlikely to me, but the materials, I'm not the materials guy, but they all look good to me. The screen matching, it's an A+ to the promo photo. I would say screen matching it to the sniper scene, B+.
Okay. Very complicated, well thought out.
Very, very nuanced.
Yeah, very nuanced. Martin.
I don't really care about the provenance. The fact of it screen matches, it's so well built and so beautiful and so well done and so well preserved, and the glove matches. So I mean, it's A++. It belongs in a museum type of deal to me. It's like, a true Star Wars relic, like a true Star Wars relic.
Well, the story to me could very well be true. It feels unlikely that George Lucas gave this away. I would be safe by saying it's a B. It's a good story. I wouldn't give it an A. But when it comes to the materials, A+, it looks completely right to me. And then the match, the photo match is an A+. The screen match is less than that, an A. But overall, I give this is definitely an A piece. This is a piece that I think anybody who had an opportunity to get it would have gotten it. And I think that speaks for itself.
The way I always approach this stuff is I want to get the facts. Nobody who owns a piece wants to find out their thing is fake, that's unpleasant. But at the end of the day, you want to get at what's truth here.
The match is strong. The materials are right. And the story? A truck driver, a dumpster, and George Lucas? This could be exactly the kind of thing that happened when nobody cared about this stuff. Here's what sticks with me. Lucas saved R2 and 3PO. He let everything else go. And somewhere in that moment, a guy loading a truck made a different call. And for nearly 50 years, it sat in a house. Not a museum, not a vault, a house. And that's how close these things can come to being lost forever. Now, Gus did his homework. He knew what he had. And now it's going to the Saga Museum, where it belongs, so that the next generation can stand in front of it and understand that these objects are real. Now that is worth preserving.